The story begins in the aftermath of the Cell games, where the Earth has been saved from the threat of Cell, the bioengineered android created by Dr. Garo. Cell, after being defeated by Gohan's overwhelming power, was obliterated by his own self-destruct mechanism, leaving nothing but a void where his malevolent presence once loomed. However, death in the Dragon Ball universe is rarely the end, and Cell's soul finds itself transported to the depths of Hell, a realm reserved for the most wicked and destructive beings. The fiery, desolate landscape of Hell is a place of eternal torment, where the souls of villains like Frieza and his minions are condemned to suffer for their crimes against the universe. Yet, Hell is not merely a place of punishment, it is also a realm where power and ambition can still thrive, and where the strongest souls can plot their revenge. Cell, now a ghostly figure with his body restored to its perfect form, awakens in this infernal realm, his memories of his defeat still fresh. He clenches his fists, feeling the familiar surge of energy coursing through his veins, and a sinister grin spreads across his face. "So, this is Hell," he mutters, his voice dripping with disdain. "A fitting place for those who couldn't match my power. But I am not like the others. I am perfect. I will not be confined to this wretched place." Cell's motivation is clear, he seeks to escape Hell and return to the living world, where he can continue his quest for perfection and dominance. His arrogance and thirst for power drive him forward, and he begins to explore the fiery wasteland, searching for a way to break free. As Cell roams the burning plains, he encounters none other than Frieza, the tyrannical emperor of the universe who once terrorized planets and sought the Dragon Balls for immortality. Frieza, now in his final form, sits atop a jagged throne of obsidian, his tail flicking lazily as he surveys the landscape. His cold, reptilian eyes lock onto Cell, and a smirk forms on his lips. Well, if it isn't the so-called perfect being," Frieza sneers, his voice laced with mockery. "I heard you were defeated by a child. How pathetic." Cell's eyes narrow, and his aura flares with suppressed rage. "Watch your tongue, Frieza," he retorts. "I am far superior to you in every way. My defeat was a fluke, and I will soon rectify that mistake." The two villains exchange venomous words, their mutual hatred and desire for supremacy evident. However, before their confrontation can escalate, a familiar presence interrupts them. From the swirling flames emerges Goku, the Saiyan warrior who has faced both Frieza and Cell in battle. His cheerful demeanor is a stark contrast to the grim surroundings, and he greets the two villains with a casual wave. "Hey, Frieza. Cell. Long time no see," Goku says with a grin. "I guess you guys are stuck here too, huh?" Frieza's expression darkens, and he rises from his throne, his aura crackling with energy. "Kakarot," he growls, his voice trembling with rage. "You're the reason I'm in this accursed place. I'll make you pay for what you've done." Cell, meanwhile, studies Goku with a calculating gaze. "So, you're here as well," he says. "This is perfect. I've been wanting to test my strength against you again, Goku. Let's see if you can keep up with my perfection." The tension in the air is palpable as the three warriors prepare for battle. Frieza, still harboring a deep grudge against Goku for his humiliating defeat on Namek, launches the first attack. He raises his hand and fires a barrage of death beams, each one aimed with deadly precision at Goku. Goku, however, effortlessly dodges the attacks, his movements a blur as he weaves through the onslaught. "You're gonna have to do better than that, Frieza," Goku taunts, his grin widening. Frieza snarls and charges forward, his fists glowing with energy as he delivers a series of powerful punches. Goku counters with his own strikes, their fists colliding in a shower of sparks. The ground beneath them cracks and shatters from the force of their blows, and the air is filled with the sound of their battle cries. Cell, observing the fight with interest, decides to join the fray. He transforms into his super perfect form, his aura exploding with golden energy as his power level skyrockets. "Let's see how you handle this, Goku." Cell shouts as he fires a devastating Kamehameha wave. Goku, sensing the attack, quickly raises his hands and counters with his own Kamehameha, the two energy beams colliding in a spectacular explosion that lights up the dark skies of Hell. The shockwave from the clash sends Frieza flying backward, and he crashes into a nearby rock formation, his body smoking from the impact. "You'll pay for that, Cell." Frieza roars as he rises to his feet, his body glowing with a dark aura. He transforms into his golden Frieza form, his power rivaling that of Cell and Goku. The three warriors now stand on equal footing, their auras clashing as they prepare for the next round of battle. As the fight intensifies, Goku decides to push his limits further. He taps into his Super Saiyan blue form, his hair and aura taking on a deep blue hue. "Alright, let's finish this," Goku says, his voice calm but determined. Frieza and Cell, realizing the gravity of the situation, unleash their full power as well. Frieza's golden form radiates with energy, while Cell's super perfect form becomes even more menacing. The three warriors charge at each other, their attacks creating shockwaves that ripple through hell. Goku's speed and precision allow him to land several hits on both Frieza and Cell, but the villains quickly recover and retaliate with their own devastating techniques. Just as the battle reaches its peak, a new presence makes itself known. Gohan, Goku's son and the one who defeated Cell in the living world, arrives in Hell. His arrival is marked by a surge of energy that dwarfs even the combined power of Goku, Frieza, and Cell. Gohan, now in his ultimate form, radiates an aura of calm but overwhelming power. "Dad, step aside," Gohan says, his voice firm. "I'll handle this." Goku, recognizing his son's strength, nods and steps back, allowing Gohan to take the lead. Frieza and Cell, however, are undeterred. "You think you can take us both on, boy?" Frieza sneers. "You're in for a rude awakening." Cell, meanwhile, smirks confidently. "This time, I won't hold back. Let's see if you can match my perfection." Gohan's response is swift and decisive. He raises his hand and fires a single, concentrated energy blast at Frieza, the attack moving so fast that Frieza has no time to react. The blast strikes him head on, and Frieza is instantly obliterated, his body disintegrating into nothingness. Cell, witnessing this display of power, is momentarily stunned. "Impossible," he mutters, his confidence wavering. Gohan turns his gaze to Cell, his eyes filled with determination. "Your reign of terror ends here," Gohan says. He charges forward, his movements so fast that Cell can barely keep up. Gohan delivers a series of powerful punches and kicks, each one landing with devastating force. Cell tries to counter, but his attacks are easily deflected. Finally, Gohan channels all of his energy into a single, massive Kamehameha wave. The attack engulfs Cell, and the bio-android is completely annihilated, his screams echoing through hell before fading into silence. With Frieza and Cell defeated, Gohan turns to his father, his expression softening. "It's over, Dad," he says. Goku nods, a proud smile on his face. "You've grown so strong, Gohan. I'm proud of you." The two scions stand together in the fiery landscape of hell, their bond stronger than ever. However, as they prepare to leave, a dark presence begins to stir in the shadows, hinting at a new threat on the horizon. The battle may be over for now, but the challenges ahead are far from finished. The air in hell crackled with energy as the remnants of the battlefield smoldered. Cell, his once perfect form now scarred and battered, stood amidst the chaos, his golden aura flickering like a dying flame. Across from him, Frieza sneered, his tail swishing lazily as his crimson eyes gleamed with malice. Beside Frieza, Goku stood tall, his Super Saiyan aura blazing with an intensity that rivaled the sun. The tension was palpable, the stakes higher than ever. This was no ordinary fight, this was a clash of titans, a battle that would determine the fate of the afterlife itself. Cell smirked, his voice dripping with arrogance. "So, the legendary Saiyan and the Emperor of the Universe stand together. How quaint. But even together, you're no match for my perfection." His body began to glow as he powered up, his aura expanding in a violent burst of energy. The ground beneath him cracked and shattered, sending debris flying in all directions. Frieza's smirk faltered for a moment, but he quickly regained his composure, his own aura flaring to life. "You dare underestimate me, you overgrown insect?" Frieza hissed, his voice laced with venom. "I'll show you the true meaning of power." Goku, however, remained calm, his eyes locked on Cell. "You've grown stronger, Cell," he admitted, his voice steady. "But so have I." With a roar, Goku's aura exploded, the golden light intensifying as he ascended to Super Saiyan 2. His hair spiked higher, and crackling bolts of electricity danced around his body. Frieza glanced at Goku, a flicker of unease crossing his face. "TCH. Always showing off, Kakarot," he muttered, but even he couldn't deny the sheer power radiating from the Saiyan. The battle began in an instant. Cell lunged at Goku, his movements a blur as he unleashed a flurry of punches and kicks. Goku countered with precision, his fists moving faster than the eye could follow. Each strike sent shockwaves rippling through the air, the sheer force of their blows shaking the very fabric of hell. Frieza, not one to be left out, joined the fray, his tail whipping through the air as he aimed a devastating strike at Cell's side. Cell dodged with a spin, his tail slicing through the air as he retaliated with a powerful energy blast. Frieza raised his hand, deflecting the blast with a barrier of energy, but the force sent him skidding backward. The fight escalated quickly, each combatant pushing themselves to their limits. Cell's regeneration allowed him to recover from even the most devastating blows, but Goku and Frieza were relentless. Goku's speed and agility kept him one step ahead, his movements fluid and precise. He launched a Kamehameha wave, the blue energy surging toward Cell with unstoppable force. Cell crossed his arms, bracing himself as the wave engulfed him. The ground beneath him disintegrated, leaving a massive crater in its wake. But when the smoke cleared, Cell stood unharmed, his smirk wider than ever. "Is that all you've got, Goku?" he taunted. Frieza, seething with rage, decided it was time to take things up a notch. His body began to transform, his muscles bulging as he entered his golden form. The golden light surrounding him was blinding, his power level skyrocketing. "Let's see how you handle this, Cell," Frieza roared, launching himself at the bio-android with blinding speed. The two collided in a burst of energy, their fists meeting in a shockwave that sent both of them flying backward. Frieza recovered first, unleashing a barrage of energy blasts that rained down on Cell like a meteor shower. Cell dodged and weaved, his movements almost too fast to track, but Frieza's attacks were relentless. One blast finally connected, slamming into Cell's chest and sending him crashing into the ground. Goku saw his opening and took it. He flew toward Cell, his fists glowing with energy as he prepared to deliver a finishing blow. But Cell wasn't done yet. With a roar, he unleashed a massive energy wave, forcing Goku to back off. Cell rose to his feet, his body crackling with energy as he began to power up once more. "You fools," he spat, his voice dripping with contempt. "You think you can defeat me? I am the ultimate life form. I will not be beaten by the likes of you." His aura exploded, the ground beneath him disintegrating as he reached new heights of power. The sky above darkened, the air thick with tension as Cell prepared to unleash his full might. Goku and Frieza exchanged a glance, a silent understanding passing between them. They knew they couldn't hold back any longer. Goku's aura flared brighter as he tapped into his full power, his Super Saiyan 2 form reaching its peak. Frieza, too, pushed himself to the limit, his golden form shining with an intensity that rivaled the stars. Together, they charged at Cell, their movements synchronized as they launched a coordinated attack. Goku went high, his fists a blur as he aimed for Cell's head, while Frieza went low, his tail lashing out like a whip. Cell countered with a spinning kick, his movements a perfect blend of offense and defense. The three combatants clashed in a whirlwind of energy, their attacks creating shockwaves that reverberated across the battlefield. As the fight raged on, Goku began to notice something. Cell's regeneration was slowing down, his movements becoming less precise. The strain of the battle was taking its toll, even on the bio-android. Goku saw his chance and took it. He flew backward, creating some distance between himself and Cell. "Frieza, now," he shouted, his voice carrying over the chaos. Frieza, understanding Goku's plan, nodded and flew toward Cell, his hands glowing with energy. He unleashed a massive death beam, the attack aimed directly at Cell's chest. Cell raised his arms to block, but the force of the attack sent him skidding backward. Goku, meanwhile, had gathered energy in his hands, his Kamehameha wave growing larger and larger. With a roar, he unleashed it, the blue energy surging toward Cell with unstoppable force. Cell, realizing he was out of options, did the only thing he could. He crossed his arms in front of him, bracing for the impact. The Kamehameha wave slammed into him, the force of the attack pushing him back. But just as it seemed like the battle was over, Cell's body began to glow. "You think you've won?" he shouted, his voice filled with desperation. "If I'm going down, I'm taking you with me." His body began to swell, the energy within him reaching critical levels. Goku's eyes widened in realization. "He's going to self-destruct," he shouted, his voice filled with urgency. But before Cell could complete his transformation, a blinding light filled the battlefield. Gohan, having sensed the danger, had arrived. His Super Saiyan 2 form radiated power, his aura crackling with energy. Without a word, he flew toward Cell, his fist glowing with energy. "Father, Frieza, get back," he shouted, his voice filled with determination. Goku and Frieza didn't need to be told twice. They flew backward, creating as much distance as possible. Gohan's fist connected with Cell's chest, the force of the blow sending a shockwave through the air. Cell's eyes widened in shock as his body began to disintegrate, his form crumbling under the sheer force of Gohan's attack. With a final roar, Cell exploded, his body reduced to nothing but ash. The battlefield fell silent, the only sound the crackling of energy as Gohan's aura slowly faded. Goku and Frieza landed beside him, their expressions a mix of relief and awe. "Nice job, Gohan," Goku said, a proud smile on his face. Frieza, however, simply crossed his arms, his expression unreadable. Humph. I could have handled him myself, he muttered, though there was a hint of respect in his voice. The battle was over, but the scars it left behind would remain. The fight had pushed them all to their limits, but in the end, they had emerged victorious. And as the dust settled, one thing was clear: this was a battle that would be remembered for eternity. The air in Hell was thick with the stench of sulfur and despair, the crimson sky swirling ominously as the final battle between Gohan and Cell reached its climax. Cell, having escaped the confines of Earth's afterlife, had grown stronger in the depths of Hell, his perfect form now radiating a dark, corrupted energy that twisted the very fabric of the underworld. Standing opposite him, Gohan, now a young man, clenched his fists, his golden aura flickering with determination. Beside him, his father, Goku, and the resurrected Frieza watched with bated breath, their uneasy alliance forged out of necessity. The stakes were higher than ever. Cell's victory would mean the collapse of the barriers between Hell and the living world, unleashing chaos across the universe. The battle began with a thunderous clash, Gohan and Cell colliding in a burst of energy that sent shockwaves rippling through the barren landscape. Gohan's fists moved like lightning, each strike aimed with precision, but Cell's newfound power allowed him to counter effortlessly, his movements a blur of malice. "You've grown stronger, Gohan," Cell sneered, his voice dripping with mockery, "but you're still no match for me." Gohan gritted his teeth, his muscles straining as he pushed himself to the limit, his Super Saiyan 2 form flaring brighter with each passing moment. The ground beneath them cracked and shattered, the sheer force of their blows creating craters that seemed to stretch endlessly. Goku, watching from the sidelines, could feel his heart pounding in his chest. He wanted to intervene, to protect his son, but he knew this was Gohan's fight. "You've got this, Gohan," he whispered, his voice barely audible over the roar of the battle. Frieza, standing a few feet away, crossed his arms, his golden form gleaming in the hellish light. "Pathetic," he muttered, though his eyes betrayed a flicker of unease. Even he could sense the overwhelming power radiating from both combatants. As the fight raged on, Gohan began to falter. Cell's relentless assault was wearing him down, his energy reserves dwindling with each passing second. "Is this all you've got?" Cell taunted, his voice echoing like a death knell. He landed a devastating kick to Gohan's chest, sending him crashing into a jagged cliffside. Gohan coughed, blood trickling from the corner of his mouth, but he refused to give up. He thought of his family, of the countless lives that depended on him, and a fire ignited within him. "I won't let you win," he growled, his voice trembling with resolve. With a roar that shook the very heavens, Gohan unleashed a burst of energy so powerful it sent Cell stumbling backward. His aura flared brighter than ever, his hair spiking upward as his power surged to unimaginable heights. This is impossible," Cell stammered, his confidence wavering for the first time. Gohan's eyes burned with determination as he charged forward, his movements faster than ever. He landed a series of rapid punches, each one driving Cell further and further back. The ground beneath them quaked, the air crackling with energy as Gohan's power reached its peak. Cell, desperate to regain the upper hand, unleashed a massive energy blast, the sheer force of it threatening to obliterate everything in its path. Gohan, undeterred, raised his hands and caught the blast, his muscles straining as he struggled to contain it. "You're not going to win," Gohan shouted, his voice filled with raw emotion. With a final, earth-shattering roar, he redirected the blast back at Cell, the energy engulfing him in a blinding explosion. When the dust settled, Cell stood battered and broken, his once perfect form now a twisted, mangled mess. How could I lose?" he whispered, his voice barely audible. Gohan, his energy nearly depleted, stood tall, his golden aura flickering like a dying flame. "Because you underestimated the power of those who fight to protect what they love," Gohan replied, his voice steady despite his exhaustion. With one final, devastating punch, he shattered Cell's core, the android disintegrating into nothingness. The silence that followed was deafening, the weight of the battle settling over the battlefield. Goku rushed to his son's side, his face filled with pride and relief. "You did it, Gohan," he said, his voice choked with emotion. Gohan smiled weakly, his body trembling from the strain. "I couldn't have done it without you, Dad," he replied, his voice filled with gratitude. Frieza, watching from a distance, scoffed, though even he couldn't hide the grudging respect in his eyes. "I suppose you're not entirely useless," he muttered before turning away. As the barriers between Hell and the living world stabilized, the universe breathed a collective sigh of relief. The balance had been restored, but the battle had left its mark. Gohan's victory had not only saved countless lives but it also cemented his place as one of the universe's greatest warriors. The dynamics of power had shifted, and the future was now filled with endless possibilities. In the aftermath, Gohan returned to Earth, his family and friends greeting him with open arms. The scars of the battle would remain, but so too would the lessons learned. Goku, ever the optimist, looked to the future with hope. "We've faced the worst and come out stronger," he said, his voice filled with determination. "Whatever comes next, we'll face it together." And as the sun set on another day, the universe stood united, ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead.